Welcome to the Third Degree Masonic Podcast, where we are always on the level. I'm your host, Brother Samuel, and today we have, I guess, what I would consider a really close friend of mine. It started off kind of rocky, but I'm happy to say he's one of my favorite people at this point. He's a active member of two different lodges, but I'll let him talk to you about that. Today we have Brother Tanner Foust. Welcome to the show, Brother Foust.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
So, how was that drive down from Findlay?
Oh, I didn't come from Finley. I came from Columbus.
Oh, jeez, even worse.
Yeah. It was not fun.
Oh,
Everybody getting out of work. It was horrible.
Oh, I imagine. When Brother Gabe told me that you were coming from somewhere else, I was like, oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, I spent about 4.5 hours driving before I got here. So yeah, it was great.
And then you're gonna have another 45-minute drive home after this?
Hour drive.
Easily. No problem. So you are a member of two different lodges. What lodges do you belong to?
My home lodge is Finley Lodge 227, and my secondary lodge, Genoa Lodge 433, where you beautiful people are at home at.
And we're so happy to have you. It's really funny. So yeah, you were always a member of Finley, and then you came over here and you were really helping us out with all of our degree work and getting ready for inspection. It was really nice. We were always going to give you an honorary membership with all the help you gave to us. And then the fact that, like, right after we got you the honorary, you just jigged over. It was like, okay, well, I guess that's better.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I still hold that honorary very dear to my heart.
In your heart.
Very, very.
That's what's important. You're both an honorary and an active member of Genoa Lodge, so...
Maybe every other year I'll pay dues to a like, I'll be honorary this year.
Yeah, right. Well, you got the option now. So, how long have you been a Mason?
I believe the first time I visited a lodge was September of 2021. Because Brother Gabriel came down because I was talking to him about Freemasonry because he talked to me about it, and he got in communication with the lodge in Finley, and he went down there to meet them, and then he invited me, got to meet people there, and I think I went in to start the degree work in October.
Okay. So it's kind of an interesting process that we have going here, because I know Gabe is a really big fan of Finley Lodge because that's where his father is a member, and then you're a member there as well. And you guys have a very interesting story of kind of how you and Gabe know each other. I'll let him talk to you about that. He'll be on the show a little bit later. That's a really good story. But what do you remember most about becoming a Mason?
Well, I remember, it's always interesting, like, meeting all these new people in one place that are all affiliated with something that you're not affiliated with, and just meeting people, talking to them, and then you go up to start degree work, and it's really, really, really different. Everybody knows what we're talking about when we say that.
Right. Is there anything in particular, like a particular degree that you've really jived with more than any of the other ones?
Well, my nickname was the Eternal Fellowcraft for a while, because I was a Fellowcraft for quite a long time due to my work schedule, and then also I would come up here and be a fill-in for a Fellowcraft candidate for practice, for ritual, and all that stuff.
You really were a Fellowcraft for a long time.
I was, and I remember doing Fellowcraft stuff for other lodges too, up in this district, because you guys were like, hey, we need somebody to play a Fellowcraft, get up here.
And you're like, I guess I can do that.
I can listen to the lecture in charge again.
Hey, but when you go to learn that lecture in charge, you'll probably be able to do it better than I can.
I have such a horrible memory. You would think that would be the case, but it's not.
They keep telling me I need to go to inspection season to watch all of these degrees take part, and I'm like, that's not going to do me any different.
Yeah, I was lucky I could remember the obligation and oaths. Uh, my my brain shot. I can't remember thanks very well.
I don't blame you. I feel like the older that I get, the more I have to delete to add new information.
Yeah, but I refuse to delete like really obscure information that has no relevance in my life because I just like holding on to it because I'm like a hoarder, you know, for memories.
I wish I could be that way. I feel like I just deleted most of eighth grade geometry and a few other things just to add things for my job
Wait,
that they
hold on.
keep changing.
You were in geometry in eighth grade.
Yes.
I was in pre-algebra for 3 years. I didn't get out of pre-algebra until like junior year of high school.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's all different kinds of masons. Some of us take a little longer to learn the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, I'm definitely oh, what's
You're a doer. You're a doer, not a thinker. I am too at this point. Brother Gabriel has checked out. We're making him laugh too hard. So, what do you love about our fraternity? What keeps you coming back?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I appreciate the most is the camaraderie and brotherhood. Because through Brother Gabriel, I've met everybody up in this lodge, and you guys have known each other for I don't know how many years because we were all in D Malay, and that has kept your friend group like together for so long, and it spiraled into Freemasonry. Obviously, most everybody in the group joined Freemasonry, and I just really like that. And then
And now you're part of it too.
yeah, I know. I wasn't even in D Malay.
It's actually really funny. The first time I met you, I thought I was going to have to like kick you out of my house because I didn't know who the heck you were. And you were standing in my living room holding in like an AK-47 or something.
Yeah,
And I was like, who is this? I don't know what. Okay, I'm going back to sleep. And I went back to my nap. And when I woke up later, you were still there. And I'm like, who's this guy in my house? Like, oh, that's Tanner. That's Gabe's friend. Okay, why is he in my house? Oh, well, he's a Mason. I'm like, okay, all right.
Why does he have two firearms?
Why does he have two firearms in my house?
Yeah, I had a AK-47 and a German Luger PO8.
It was great. And then as time went on, I was like, I like this guy. He's got the sparkle to him.
I got a little bit more of a sparkle in me.
Well, you got to have that a little bit. Sometimes I feel like people forget that it's okay to be different. And I am okay with people being different as long as they're not hurting nobody else. So who cares?
As my grandmother has told me and many other people, Tanner is authentically Tanner. And that is the most true statement I've ever heard in my life.
I love it. So we've talked about why, what it is you love about this fraternity, and you've been a Mason for a rather short time in the grand scheme of everything. Do you have a Masonic hero or idol that you look up to?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a little bit.
They could be alive, they could be dead, they could be...
I mean, I could just go with a short, easy, cliche answer of, the great George Washington,
Of course you could. Everybody could.
But if I really had to think, oh my goodness.
I know, it's a hard question.
Or the Charles R. Murphy.
Oh, that's a good option. I don't think anybody's brought him up yet.
I love that guy. He's great.
Oh no, I think Mark did.
Oh, did Mark?
I think Brother Allred did. He's a good option.
Has anybody brought up how amazing his mustache is?
Nobody's talked about that. Mostly they talk about how much he travels and how hard he works for our district and for our lodge, but
I have heard.
The mustache is pretty cool. No one looks that good with a mustache. You have to be a past grandmaster to be able to rock that mustache.
Yeah. Brother Gabriel wishes he could rock a mustache like that.
Well, he kind of wishes he was a lot of things. He's giving us a sign or symbol as we speak. So what is your proudest moment so far? Because you have a relatively short time frame of being a Mason. What's your proudest moment so far?
Proudest moment.
I know. Well, another hard question.
That is a very hard question.
Any event you've been to, something that's happened, a friend maybe getting into the organization,
I have brought a friend in, and being there for his initiation was really, really cool.
it's cool.
Seeing that. But I don't know if that'd be
Your proudest.
my proudest.
See, I always like when somebody we know comes in, because all of a sudden you see people coming out of the woodwork to be at the degree work. That's always really cool.
Yeah.
Never knowing who's going to be there for your third degree. They might not be there for your EA or your fellow craft, but that third degree, when you finally see everybody and you're like, wow, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people here.
I would travel a far distance to see like a friend of mine or someone I care about get their third degree. I would travel a lot.
It's worth it.
It's absolutely worth it.
Especially if you can end up being the guy at the end.
Oh yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. There's a couple people I'd really want to be the guy at the end for.
Jeez. So, anyways, Craftsman, I know I have been on the mic for a relatively short time, but Brother Gabriel and Brother Foust have a very strong relationship, and I think you're going to see that come through the mic once Gabe gets on the microphone. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with this interview.
Welcome back, Craftsmen, to the Third Degree Masonic Podcast. Thank you for rejoining us. I'm your co-host, Brother Gabriel. Rejoining us is Brother Tanner Foust. Welcome back, brother.
It's good to be back.
I'm sure it is. So, I think I have a unique perspective on you since we've been friends for so long. And your journey into Freemasonry was kind of interesting because you and I had known each other for a few years prior to you joining Lodge. And you had always known that I was a Mason. I had talked to you about it occasionally. And what really made you take what I said? Like, what did you take from that? Like, how did my message finally resonate home with what Masonry was really kind of doing for me, or what did you see in it?
I think the first time that I saw really what it was about was like a brotherhood is when it was the first time you made me work on your farm, and all of the Masonic friends were there helping you out with all the hard labor you were putting us through. And I just got to meet all these people. You're like, oh yeah, this is so and so. He's also in Lodge, and it's like, oh wow, everybody here is in Lodge. Man, they must be really, really good friends if they're here doing all this hard labor for you.
Well, yeah, that is definitely a part of it. Not that Masonry involves hard labor. It's just that the bonds that we forge through Masonry can help us when we need stuff done. And I'm very happy to have such a good group of brothers and friends who are able to help me when stuff like that comes up, because it is kind of hard being on the farm sometimes.
Oh yeah, I understand.
So back to your journey into Freemasonry. I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but there was something that really set you apart in my mind from other candidates, is that you were always there when we were first starting your Masonic journey. Like, before you even petitioned, you were there at the Brotherhood dinners for a good 2 or 3 times before you even petitioned. You were hanging out with these guys. You were learning the character of your lodge. You were learning a little bit about these guys. And that's something I actually really, really liked about you in your candidate journey, is that you were interested in participating in everything. You wanted to go to every social event. You wanted to, even when your lodge was opening in Fellowcraft or Master Mason and you had to wait down in the fellowship hall, you were still there. And I find that great.
Yeah. when I find something I enjoy, or stuff like that, I like to invest my time, um and invest myself into it so I can get the most out of it.
Well, that's good. So I'm glad that it resonated with you in a way that you wanted to stick with it, especially with, as we talked about earlier, that you stayed as a fellow craft for a long, long time.
I think it could have been about a year.
It might have been close to it. It might have been close to almost a year you spent as a fellow craft. Now, back in the old days, that was actually kind of commonplace as you studied your degrees and studied kind of your role as an entered apprentice or a fellow craft. But we've kind of gotten away from that, sort of.
I don't know. Anytime like we hear about the passing of a brother and all that, and they read their Masonic records, it's always like they became an entered apprentice in January 1958. They were brought in they were raised as a fellow craft in February, and then a master mason in March. I've heard a lot of records like that. I'm like, wow, that's fast.
Yeah, because you also have the unique perspective of it taking a long time. A lot of the other brothers we've been with recently, it's all been real quick.
Yeah.
Because the push has been for the education and the immersion in the fraternity to come after the third degree, which has its benefits, but also has its drawbacks I think it has the unintended consequence of making the entered apprentices and the fellow crafts feel less engaged. But again, that's something we never saw from you because A, you were always doing stuff as an entered apprentice and a fellow craft, and B, even though you stayed as a fellow craft for so long, you seemed really interested and kept going.
And I would come up here to Genoa and do events with you guys, like ringing the bell at the local market and stuff for Christmas, and just doing fellowship things, going to other things like in the area with you guys.
So now your lodge is Findlay 227,
yes,
right? And I'm happy to be a member there as well. And we share a friend there as well, my father, other Brother Fawcett. And it's always good I always love coming down and sitting together with you guys on the sidelines, and it's wonderful to just sit on the sidelines of a meeting and watch and not have to partake in an officer role. But your lodge does actually a lot of community outreach stuff in Findlay, doesn't it? You guys host dinners and do parades and stuff.
Yeah. They have a good amount of public engagement. Every year for the county fair, our lodge members drive people on go-karts from their cars up to the gates and from the gates to their cars. There's an annual corn roast, which I have not had the chance to partake in, but it's like a potluck, but they supply all the corn. They do a Christmas thing, like meet Santa Claus. I don't know if they do something for Halloween. And then around Christmas time as well, I believe it's for the members that are 85 years and older. They send them I think it's a Hillshire Farms sausage and cheese box.
Well, that's great. It's always good to hear lodges being really active in the community like that. But it's kind of interesting because for the craftsmen who may not know, I used to live in Findlay before I moved up to this area of Northwest Ohio, and Findlay has gotten a bit bigger of a city over the years, ever since I left, and it's a much bigger city than Genoa is. So you've gotten the experience of being in a slightly larger area like Findlay and a lodge that's on the pretty decent side. And then you've been to some of these big, or not big, but like other area rural lodges. So what do you see as the difference between like Findlay Lodge and a lodge like Genoa? And I'm not asking for like negative differences. I'm just asking, like, what's it like being at a meeting where you've got 15 guys just sitting on the sidelines and then coming to a area like Genoa where we got maybe 1 or 2 guys on the sidelines because we're a smaller lodge.
Well, with Finley, I don't really know how to describe that.
I know it's kind of a complicated question. I just kind of want to get your idea on it because Masons travel a lot, but Masons don't always go to different types of lodges as like their home lodge, because your home lodge is also here. We consider you a part of this lodge. So you get 2 different kind of Masonic experiences on the regular.
Yeah, there's definitely more people that will travel. It's like the bigger lodges like Finley, that, may not always stop into a more rural lodge and all that, because Finley is, what district are we? 10th district?
10th, yes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the biggest lodge in the 10th district, unless Lima is bigger. I forget, but
I'm not sure. I don't know the membership roster or size or anything off the top of my head.
But yeah, we definitely get a lot more visitors at Finley Lodge than what Genoa would expect for like visitors.
Because Finley Lodge also hosts a lot of appendant bodies, doesn't it? You guys have your own commandery Red Lodge.
I believe the appendant bodies meet at Finley Lodge.
Mm-hmm. Because not all smaller lodges like Genoa have the space to.
Yeah.
Because the Finley Masonic Temple is a beautiful facility.
Beautiful and spacious. The Blue Room, beautiful. Very, very big. Very big.
So it's always a good time to go there. But I'm glad that you feel just as home here as you do down there too.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of the whole point of the fostering of the brotherhood, of going anywhere in the world to any lodge and being able to still find the same brotherhood that you would get at your home.
You are at home.
Exactly. And I'm glad that's something that's really resonated with you, with your experience through Freemasonry, because Brother Wilburn and I, we've both been in this fraternity for almost over a decade, and you've only 2.5, 3 years now.
About 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, so you're only just now beginning your Masonic career, really. So, but it's good that some of the lessons have really resonated with you really well, and that you're picking up the real good parts of Freemasonry early. So, we're gonna kind of tie some things together, and it'll be nice having your perspective on some of these, because as a newer Mason, I don't know whether your answers are going to be kind of the same or different to how older members of the fraternity have given us answers. Because we've interviewed a lot of guys who have had decades of experience in the fraternity. And so I guess I would start with, my first question would be, how do you feel that Masonry has really impacted your life? Like, how different do you think your life would be had you not joined Lodge 3 years ago?
Something I've definitely taken and incorporated more into my life is some of the, what's that word?
Lessons, teachings?
Yeah, lessons and teachings and stuff to live like by my life, like charity. I'm always willing to help people when they're at a low point. I strive to try to help people and just do something nice to make their day better.
Mm-hmm.
I like to treat people with a lot of respect. I try to be very respectful when dealing with anybody, even if, say, there's a more negative situation going on with somebody, I try to stay upstanding and respectful and try to de-escalate a situation in the best way possible.
Good. And it's great that someone who, being a little younger than myself in both fraternity experience and in age, that resonates so well with you and that you're really taking that to heart. And I'm glad that's what you see your life being positively impacted as, the actual already tangible benefits you're getting from the fraternity is just being an upstanding guy. I mean, that's why I recommended you and was so glad when you asked to join, is because I already considered you that, and it's just gotten better as the years have gone by. So it's okay. Questions are, I know some of the questions, it's thought-provoking. You can say whatever is on your mind.
Oh, I already forgot what the question was. You're going to have to repeat that, Sonny.
So, to tie into something we had talked about earlier, you and I had known each other for several years prior to you joining Lodge. And the story of that kind of rolls into something that the craftsmen may not know about both of us, is that you and I are both students of history. Specifically, we like to do living history events, specifically reenactments. And I met you in, was that 2017 or 2018?
2018 was the first time that we met. It was at the Findlay Military Show, and I was just walking by with my my old friend at the time, Max, and I just wanted to talk to you reenactors because I thought about joining reenacting, and that's where I first met our friend Marcus, and talking to him and Christian, and then you came out of the woodwork, and I could just tell, man, this guy's like a jester.
That was your first impression of me?
Yeah, you were kind of like a jester. You were the funny man. You were also you were making jokes at your expense in the best way possible. And I thought, I like this guy. This guy is funny. This guy's quirky. This guy is funny. And didn't talk too much there, but then the following year, at the same military show in Findlay, I had bought some stuff for living history events and all that, and I was just walking out, going to my car, and I see this dude from last year that the year prior he was cuddling with a pillow with a flower embroidered on it, and I just remember you going, "Hey, you! Hey, that stuff looks pretty good. Come here, come here. Are you a reenactor?" I was like, "Oh no, I just like to collect things and make like little displays." And you're like, "Oh, it looks great. Come over the barbed wire fence. Come sit down with us. We'd love to have you join our group." So I hopped to the shoelace barbed wire fence and I hung out with you guys, and that's where our friendship started to grow from.
And then you started coming to every reenactment. We started going to stuff together, and
yeah, and I put a lot of money into that hobby that I'll never see back.
And then you got into Freemasonry. I recruited you even into the military.
Yeah, you made me join the State Guard, which I still love that service. I'll never make it seem like I was forced. I do get a lot of satisfaction out of that as well, with public service and serving the state.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you feel that way about it. I'm glad that we both hold it in that high honor. And I just think that it goes to show how much we've come to grow together as friends, because I feel like I've been friends with you just as long as I've been friends with Brother Wilbur and Brother Staylor. And I couldn't imagine my life without you as one of my brothers and one of my squad mates and one of my friends.
Man, like, I give you a hard time. I make jokes at you all the time, but like when you're not around, I always describe it. He is one of the best upstanding people I've ever met in my life, and he's one of the best friends I've ever had. And because of that, well, look at me. I'm now the godfather of your child. I have a key to your house.
I know. It's so sweet. So I think that will give a good idea about how just Masonic connections and brotherhood connections can kind of come from nowhere and really blossom into something truly great, which is the whole idea of brotherhood in this fraternity.
Yeah, I feel like we were too good, but too alike, and we just kind of morphed into like 1.5 brain cells, like collectively.
We're 1.5 members of each lodge that we belong to.
Yeah, but like it's more so like split down to even, be like 0.75, 0.75, but I think it's a little less than that. We're just like fighting for like the other like half or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll start tying into some of the hard questions now. Some of the questions that'll really make you think about your Masonic career, where your Masonic career is going, and also where it's been. And the first thing that I want to ask you is, if you could change something about the fraternity, not in terms of our ritual, not in terms of the idea of Masonry, but something that the fraternity may either need to change for efficiency's sake, or something that you as a new Mason think, oh, hey, maybe we could do this a little bit differently. What's your idea on that?
Oh, this is gonna make some people really upset. um I understand Freemasonry is so it's old, you know, it's been around for however long, and you know we have tradition that have always been followed, even if it's not, you know, necessarily in code. But I for one hate wearing suits, and I know when you go to lodge, you're gonna see everybody wearing a suit. I hate collared dress shirts. Um, they just make my skin crawl. I hate them. And I feel that when I go to lodges and I don't have a suit on, I make a lot of people upset. And I wear a little badge of pride in my own sense, where I have gone to inspections in a tracksuit. Where,
for the listeners who, Craftsman, for those of you who are in the fraternity currently, the brother sitting across from me one time showed up to an inspection in the fellowcraft degree, and he sat on the sidelines, and he was almost late, so he was one of the last Masons to come in the room right before everything started. And he put on his apron and he sat down, and I noticed, because I was sitting in the senior warden's chair, so he sat basically right to my left. And he was wearing a matching red and blue tracksuit. And he was sitting there next to guys in, like, maybe not their tuxedos, but definitely good suits for inspection. And we had the walls lined for this degree.
it was in a pretty small lodge.
It was here.
No, it was at Pemberville.
Oh, so you've done it twice.
Yeah, I've done
it
twice.
here and at Pemberville.
Yes, I have. I looked like an Eastern European gangster.
So for the craftsmen who are not members of this fraternity yet, it is generally regarded as proper etiquette to wear a suit, not only to your stated meeting, but especially to district functions like inspections and table lodges and everything like that. So when you have a brother like Tanner Foust, who it would be a crusade and a half to get him to wear a polo and slacks.
I have no problem with polos. It's collared dress shirts I have the problem with. And people still, I think, don't like that I wear polos every now and again.
Well, as someone who has had to come directly from work to lodge, and as someone who is lodge brothers with Brother Jack Race, who, if he's not wearing a dirty high-vis shirt to lodge, he's not at lodge.
Sometimes he has that really nice soft sweater.
Yes, and that is about as dressed up as he will get. So I understand. I do understand, because we also talk all the time about coming as you are, and that we judge a man by his character, not by his looks.
The inner qualifications.
Yes.
And I've always stood on that. It's the inner qualifications of a Mason that,
which I completely respect. But then also I understand why you're not an officer at your lodge, because a lodge is allowed to set criteria for what they would like and require their officers to dress as. And Finley's requirements is a suit.
absolutely. But I'm never going to be an officer.
Never say never. I never thought I would sit in the East, and here I am at the end of my term in the East.
Well, I just did say never, Brother Gabriel. I'm not one to, like I said earlier, I don't have a really good memorization skill. So memorizing all that stuff, man, I'll tell you what.
I will bring a GoPro with us when you come to your first Grand Lodge, and I will record the reaction of every brother as you come into the venue wearing a tracksuit and come to sit down next to myself, Brother Wilburn, Brother Murphy, Brother Allred, and you'll just sit down next to us. And you'll have an apron on, so people will know that you're duly vouched for, but no one will know what is going on.
Yeah, hopefully they don't throw me out.
Maybe in 2029, I'll whisper something to Most Worshipful Brother Jeff Simon. He'll make a scene of throwing you out.
If it's choreographed, I'm all for it. It'll hurt my feelings if it wasn't.
So that is your thing that you would change, is you want to just not have to wear a suit.
Yes, and I stand very firmly on that hill. It might not be a very big hill, but I stand firmly on that hill.
Wow. That is, not the answer I was expecting to that question, but it completely fits.
Absolutely. Well, what did you think my answer was going to be?
I thought it was going to be something like along the lines of something having to do with how the fraternity functions or communicates or something, but no.
Oh, no.
You want to just...
No, I don't do all that secretary work with communications.
That's all for Ken Chamberlain.
That is all for the Ken Chamberlain of Finley Lodge 227.
Craftsman, I hope you've enjoyed Brother Foust, because he is as much as he calls me a jester, he is probably the king of jesters.
I am ridiculous.
We know. So, these questions, if that was the answer to the first question, these questions are going to be very interesting. So, you've got your whole Masonic career ahead of you. You've got a long time of being in the fraternity and accomplishing things, maybe changing your mind about suits, maybe changing your mind about being in an officer role. But we'll get there. But you're going to have quite the story behind you eventually. And if you were to encounter, say, 40, 50 years down the line, someone who was in your position, either a brand new Master Mason or a brand new man knocking at the door of Freemasonry, or considering petitioning and knocking at the door of Freemasonry, what would you say to those guys? What would you say to that brand new Mason in the future, or that someone from Liam's generation or my son's generation? What would you say to them in the future? What advice would you give them?
I would say absolutely take the brotherhood role and aspect and absolutely apply that to your life and make those strong connections, because that's, I mean, look at our friend group. It's very strong. The brotherhood is there. There's more to it than just masonry there, but it's make the friendships and those relationships.
Well, I think that's a great answer to that question. I think that's perfect. And it's great that that's how you consider the fraternity, and that's what you would want your future advice to be. And I'm happy about that.
And also, wear polos.
Oh my. We're going to get a lot of phone calls to our podcast voicemail, aren't we, Brother Wilburn?
Good thing my contact information isn't on there.
Definitely. So, one final question for you. Kind of in the same vein as the one you just answered, but a little different. Say 100, 150 years from now, and the fraternity's still going strong, as it will, as it always has. Even though our membership ebbs and flows, things happen, we'll still be here. What would you like to leave behind for future Masons? Or what would you like the idea of your legacy to be? Or what would you like to believe that Masons of the future will think about you? And don't make your answer about polos.
It will not be about, it won't be focused on polos, but my legacy in Masonry, I think it would be pretty much the exact same for the legacy I would leave in my normal life is like, man, that guy, he was pretty weird, but you know what? He was always helpful. He was always there for people, and he was pretty funny. And I feel like, 150 years, if I have a picture on the Genoa wall or something, because I paid like $50 to have it there for eternity, I'm gonna be like, that guy, he came here in a tracksuit one time in front of the Grand Master of Ohio, and you know what? That's pretty nifty.
That's pretty nifty.
Putting balls in balls.
150 years from now, Masons will think of you as that pretty nifty tracksuit Mason.
You know what? What if nobody else ever does that? I'll be the only one. I would be, I don't know, infamous.
Maybe you could start your own lodge where all they wear is tracksuits.
We could do that.
See, now you said you'll never be an officer, but maybe you could be an officer of tracksuit lodge number 10.
Number 10?
I don't know. You get to determine that yourself if you get to become the first worshipful master of tracksuit lodge.
So no, I think you're cooking on something. I think I think I can get the dues to be a pretty reasonable amount, and everybody at Genoa can be a plural member.
Oh my God, can you imagine Charlie Murphy in a tracksuit?
I would put the $450 in my wallet right now on the table and pay to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can personally write the request to Most Worshipful Brother Newton, the Grand Secretary, to ask for a dispensation and then get a charter for Tracksuit Lodge.
How much paperwork is that?
A lot.
I don't like doing paperwork. Maybe I'll have you do it. I'll give you like $5.
And on that note, Craftsman, I hope you've realized that despite all the joking and the back and forth, Brother Foust is an amazing Mason, and he's going to be a great asset to his lodge and to Genoa Lodge and to our friend group, as he already has been.
And future Tracksuit Lodge 1 of Ohio.
I think we're going to catch some flack for this.
I doubt it.
That's incredible. You know what? You have my full support, Brother Foust. You go as hard as you want on that. You get Tracksuit Lodge number 1 established, and I will be your first endowed member.
I just got to find a place where I can put that lodge.
I'm sure you'll find a place.
In due time.
In due time. So, Craftsman, thank you for tuning into the Third Degree Podcast. We hope you've liked this more lighthearted interview. It's been a blast, and we hope to do more interviews like this in the future. We hope to do a lot of casual conversations with Masons and getting Masons from all corners of the state and even all corners of the country, even. So, Craftsman, as always, we appreciate your likes, comments, and feedbacks on our streaming platforms and on our social media. If you can find it within the length of your cable tow, to give us a like on Facebook or a subscription on YouTube or on any of the streaming services. We'd really appreciate it. And remember, craftsmen,
Keep your working tools in order and always be on the level.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect those of the Grand Lodge of Ohio. They belong only to the hosts or guests.